Greetings, fellow humanoids, and welcome back to the Versal Plane, home to all manner of magical mayhem. This evening's eclectic
Hello?
collection of characters is that one, and this one. Yeah, oh, no. We have with us this evening John Cena. Everyone give a round of applause. Oh, nope, not John Cena anymore.
Hi.
M pops in. Would you like to have a seat? To Chris Hansen me. All right. Well,
Mm-hmm.
we are returning to the hinterlands outside of the town of Dunnson, in the midst of what is basically a 42-second wild magic storm that has thus far taken us 6 hours to play through two-thirds of, roughly five
Mm-hmm.
sevenths of. Such is the way. That is the time dilation of RPG. I'm sure there's an
Mm-hmm.
entire uh, research paper to be written about it. So,
Correct.
what happened last time? Magic, wildness, dragons from
Bullshit.
other planes of existence. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Tim died. Tim got killed. Tim got straight up slaughtered. That wasn't an
Yeah.
accident.
Poor Tim.
Tim got a sword through the chest. Tim caught the S word through the chest like 3 times. I'm just gonna look at the. Let's see here. Shortbow. So yeah, last time, we picked up with the interplanar portal opening and the depths of wild space being visible through it, and then discovering that there was a lunar dragon on the other side, and it basically dive bombed into the material plane and dropped down with a little platoon of scavers. That the scavers eventually made it toward the ground because I think the portal was about 100 feet off the ground or so, 200 feet.
Yeah.
The dragon dropped in and just like uh cold. It wasn't cold breath. I think it was cold breath. It was like wild space
Yeah,
breath.
I was cool, bro.
Just fucking wild space breath everybody twice because it recharged. And and then the party just retaliated and wrecked its shit. And it ended up killing one of its own scavers because the scavers got under it as it was hovering, and then it collapsed down on them.
Mm-hmm.
One of the scavers turned into 59 bubbles or something to that effect. And
Yeah, something like that. And then they got
yeah,
popped.
and then a bunch of the bubbles got frozen because they were in the path of the breath weapon. And then the ones that didn't get frozen got popped and crushed by the
Mm-hmm.
body of the falling dragon. Um, there was the no the God, I'm confusing what happened when. The assassin crawling up out of the, not the assassin, but like the rock gnome crawling up out of the cavern. I think that was the first session. Um
Yeah, it was the first session.
okay. Oh no, yeah, it was the scavers and the dragon. Um when Tim got taken down by one of the knights, the portal closed, which realistically is only going to fuel their suspicion that he had opened it deliberately because they
Yep.
already suspected him of that because he was trying, they had no clue. He was speaking, I think, Undercommon, and none of them spoke it. And he was trying to
Yeah.
summon a coatl, which is a good aligned celestial creature, but they didn't know what he was saying. And after he said that, or after he tried to summon it, the lunar dragon dive bombed through the portal. So they
Yep.
thought he summoned that. And so one of your champions took him out, at which point the portal closed because of a random event, only further cementing their suspicions.
Yep.
And then one of them, I think it was, I think the prince had sent a sending message back to the town of Dunnson to let them know what was happening. And they just happened to have someone on hand who was a bit of a specialist in dealing with tense situations in which diplomacy hath failed. And at the very end, all of a sudden, these extremely accurate, very poisonous crossbow bolts came zipping out of the forest, taking out the last of the scavers, one of which tumbled over into the cavern, if I can remember correctly.
Yes, it did.
Yes. And then an individual stepped out onto the road, and one of our champions immediately recognized this individual because, as the dice decided, this individual, who was now either I don't think we rolled to see if they were retired or basically just freelance now, but they had once been amongst the king's personal guard. And so this is an individual who is well known. Jean Vic. And Jean Vic, because something wicked this way comes. And they both recognized each other. I guess it was my champion, because it was my champion's turn, and it was the last turn of the round. And I think they essentially rolled an investigation check, and they found they were patting down Tim's body, and they found this sort of rolled up tube, like in an inside vest pocket, and they took it out, and it was a piece of parchment, and none of them could read it until they eventually handed it to Jean, who understands thieves' cant. And it was a message written in thieves' cant that we do not know the contents of. It was the results of a random event. So we know they found it. We know it was a cryptic message. Literally, I think the role was secrets revealed. And I was like, thank you. That's very, that doesn't help us know the exact nature. But see, part of me thinks we don't actually need to know the exact nature, because we're asking the fate charts what actions these characters are taking. And so it doesn't actually matter what the note says in terms of us knowing, because we don't need to know as players how to react to it. We just have to roll for how they react to it. We know that Jean read the note and then looked around the group and then looked at Tim's dead body and said to Tim, "We gotta go."
Yep.
And that's where we ended this. But we ended the session on a random event, because you asked if the storm was going to bring Tim back, and you rolled a 33, which
I did.
Which even in an unlikely scenario is a yes, because unlikely is a 35% chance and a 33 is within that. But it is a random.
Right back.
Okay.
In like 10 seconds.
All right. So I'll put up the be right back screen for 10 seconds, and then no, I won't do that. I'll filibuster for 10 seconds. So we're going to find out, and I think we decided also that we were going to treat that roll as the Wild Magic Storm's effect roll. So let me make sure I've got my Excel battle sheet. That's what I'm going to call it. My Excel battle sheet up and ready to go.
Don't worry about it.
I'm going to put in here that our final champion had an investigation check. And that was the final. There we go. That was the final turn of. Let me double check. I think it is 3, 4, 5. That was the final action of round 5 of this storm, of which there are 7 rounds. So we've got 2 left. You think we're going to make it through both of them today?
Probably.
See, you're already more optimistic than I am. Merge cells. There we go. 4 and 5. Well, we've taken a whole bunch of things off the board too. So, let's see here. The Rock Gnome Assassin was on the board, then off the board. The Lunar Dragon and the 4 Scavers that came through. And I told you there was going to be 1d8 Scavers per round were going to come through. But then the dice decided that, no, fuck that shit. The portal's closing.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lunar...
currently clearing my. I'm currently clearing my space so I can actually get on my laptop. So I can hear
Ah,
you. I might be muted for a minute.
that's fair. I'm not muted ever. So that's a lie. I do occasionally mute myself, mostly when I realize, well, I won't say I realize because you will always contradict my opinion on that. When I feel like I'm talking too much or interrupting or making a scene too much about me, I will mute myself so that even if I do make some wisecrack, it doesn't come through and do what I feel is interrupting other people's moments. So, coming back around, we are going to get the effects of the wild magic storm, and it's the storm's turn. And there is still, I will point this out, there is still a thing that is just currently sitting here that the storm has technically absorbed 31 points, in this case, of radiant damage, because Saelinh's solar dragon hit it with the photonic breath weapon twice in round 2 and in round 3 for a total of 61 points of damage. And we determined that it didn't have an immediate effect, but I did note down the amount of damage because I'm going to let I believe very strongly there will be some sort of effect that that number will come into play for. Something is going to happen to that energy. It's going to get released in some way. The dice will decide whether that happens or not and make a liar out of me, but we shall see. Going to start with we're going to start with the storm. You said we did decide to use the random event
Yes.
roll as the effect roll. Okay. So let's get that wild magic table back up here because I'm prepared. And wild magic sorcerer because that's fun too. Because he's a wizard, but I mean, the man has absorbed a bunch of energy of this storm. So,
Yeah. Okay. I'm here.
okay, here we go. So, 33. So, have I ever told you about how I really appreciate when the dice just say what they mean and
Mm-hmm.
do what they're supposed to do? That's cool. So, as that scene is playing out betwixt what's the name? Elendor and Jean. Um, the storm is the storm is still it's still moving because it's moving across the bridge, and I think we determined it was moving at 1 foot per second. So it's basically moving its way across the chasm, and it's crackling, and there's that same sort of lightning is not exactly the right word, but it's this luminary energy that's sort of crackling through it. It's almost like the mist itself is crackling, like it's lightning branches of mist. Um, but nobody immediately senses anything new going on. It's just the storm making its way 1 foot per second across the chasm. Storm. That
Okay.
makes it uh my champion's turn. Okay. Well, my champion is definitely paying attention to the storm. So we're gonna do a perception check. And one of the things I like about the way we've done this is that make sure is basically rolling a perception check, and if it's high enough, then going, okay, is there something to perceive without having to worry about like in advance whether there's something that to be seen or not.
Mm-hmm.
So champion perception is plus 6. So champion, what do you perceive with your elf eyes, if that's what you have? An 18. Okay. Let's see here. It's a mythic thing. Not that one. Is there anything currently substantially relevant to our story to be perceived? I'll say, is there anything substantially relevant and new, other than, of course, our other than Jean Vic? Is there anything environmental or unexpected, substantially relevant? You think it's 50-50? I mean, I feel like it's 50-50 because they're in a wild magic storm. It's literally, we don't know anything.
Yeah, I'd say 50-50.
Okay. Is there anything substantially relevant and unexpectedly new to be perceived on an 18? 81, there's not. So
Okay.
this champion, this knight is very intently like scanning the area in full soldier mode of like, we were just attacked, we just survived an attack. We don't know if this is going to be the first wave of something. We don't know if this was a distraction for something else. But in that moment, they're not perceiving anything. And would be if there were anything to be perceived. So we know there's nothing there.
Okay.
This one, however, this one has no, this one has not used second wind. So this one is actually going to use second wind as a bonus action to get back 20 hit points, because this one's feeling a little busted up. This is the only one that's actually below half hit points. There we go. So now we are above half hit points. Second wind has been used. So now it is your knight's turn. Knight number for champion number 5. Him. Who was the one who killed? Let me just double check real quick.
Yeah.
Which one slaughtered Tim? Uh, that was champion number 4. So that was not this one. Uh,
Has popped. Did Jean Vic say to the body time? I remember us saying.
yeah, you might need to turn the sensitivity on your mic up.
Sorry, I realized I still had it turned towards the kitchen
Oh.
where I was. Sorry.
Yes, he had said it to Tim, or the bleeding, lacerated, eviscerated body of Tim.
Um, I think they just hold their action because they're like not sure what's happening at the moment.
Okay. This makes sense. All right. We're going to hold our action. It's a sensible thing to do. It's a sensible thing to do. Which is probably good because as they're holding their action and as the mist of the storm is swirling and making its way and covering more and more of the bridge, and that sort of crackling, it's almost like not even lightning, it's almost like fissures. It's almost like veins in granite,
Mm-hmm.
but moving like lightning through the mist are starting to
Okay.
sort of intensify and crackle a little bit, and that same sense of electrical tension that this whole group felt as they were approaching the chasm right before that chromatic thunderclap that initiated the storm. They're feeling that intensification of energy again as the storm is crackling its way across this. Okay, it's not crackling its way across the bridge like it's crossing the bridge. It just happens to be going over the bridge, but it's crossing in that area. And as it does that, these sparks of that energy of those fissures sort of lash out a little bit, and one of
Mm-hmm.
them catches Tim's body and the body lurches because on the wild magic table that we've been using for this wild magic storm, a 33 just happens to be uh, someone who has died within the previous minute immediately comes back to life as if by the reincarnate spell.
Fuck yeah.
So, we totally forgot to roll that random event, which is
We
fine.
didn't. We were planning on doing it this next time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. We forgot to roll it at the top because you had. So as
Mm.
that sparking is happening, um, you go ahead and roll that beautiful bean footage.
48.
48 is NPC positive.
Well, well,
So,
it
uh,
is.
yeah, roll. I mean, I don't even think we need to roll for which NPC it is. Go ahead and roll the action, and we'll see if it jives.
42.
Answer to life, the universe, and everything. Okay.
Really thinking about it. Hold on.
hmm
Just moved between like 6 different numbers back and forth. Just like,
Nice, nice.
uh, that is a 27.
So 42 is exposed, and 27 is environment. So this is NPC positive, exposing the environment or exposed by the environment. I mean, what's happening depending on what happens with this wild magic surge.
Didn't,
mm,
didn't we roll to see if everybody knew what this storm was?
at least a few of the knights did, and at least one of them had actually had personal experience with this kind of storm before. I'm pretty sure Saelihn had also, but I know one of the
Mm.
knights had. Yeah. Hmm.
Well, I mean, the storm's moving, so maybe revealing environment is that the storm's going to move past them because
Mm,
it's like misty, right? And they're going to be able to see what's on the other side of the bridge now.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say too. Yeah, where it hit, they didn't. They were not necessarily able to see past that because once
Hmm.
the two of them had run across the bridge and gotten into it, and were able to see inside of it. But once they were inside of it, they couldn't see on the other side, and the people who were on the far side also couldn't see across.
Hmm.
So, um, well, so if this is is it exposing something about the this is a weird question. Is it exposing something about the environment that they were previously already able to see, but now it is exposing something they hadn't been able to see before?
Mm.
Given that this is a question based on the fact that the this is an NPC positive uh random event that says expose environment, I'd say it's probably
Yeah.
likely. So 65%. 53. So yes, something is now being revealed that was already there. So I'm gonna roll on the huh?
I said interesting.
Which is extra interesting because the roll for it to see if there was something. Well, okay, so we're gonna say that this random event is happening right now on Tim's turn because that's why there was nothing to be perceived on the knight's turn because it hadn't been revealed yet. Um,
Huh?
I am going to roll on the terrain table, thinking very specifically about which part of this terrain that they're in right now. So, like, is it the crevasse? Is it the woods? Is it somewhere up, like, on the mountain that something is being made visible? What part of the terrain is being exposed? 007 is animals, and 39 is healthy. So healthy animals. Uh,
Is there a herd of animals on the other side?
maybe there is. There might well be. Is there is there a herd of animals? Wait a second. Oh, wait. I have a very distinct idea of what this might be, and I'm gonna actually bet you I'm gonna do a whole bunch of research here to find something out, only for it to turn out to be incorrect. Um, let's see here. Uh, 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 okay, I'm willing to bet this is gonna be wrong because it makes absolutely perfect sense. Is there an entire colony of pixies that have been essentially hovering in the forest and in the like not actually in the area to take damage, so like not directly over the cross, but basically like watching this entire thing like a colony of them. I'm gonna say because it makes so much absolutely perfect sense, um, that it is 75 or 80 80%. I'll split the difference. It is between very likely and nearly certain. So 80% chance that is the case. That's an 11. And the reason that I said pixies and healthy animals is a little bit of a stretch because they're not animals, they're fae, but they have as one of their abilities at will, they can turn invisible. And so they have been invisible this entire time. And the surge
Maybe
in the
they're collecting magic from the storm.
well, we do have a random event, so we're going to see. I love that idea. I love the idea. Oh, is the storm so there's many possibilities, but the one possibility is they follow storms like this to collect the energy. The other is that they accidentally generate storms like this because of their own nature. I'm not going to ask that. I'm going to put a pin in that so that we can let that happen as we play this out. Um, amazing. So for my 11, the focus of this random event is a 46, which is also NPC positive, and the actions of it are 99, which is usurp, and wait a second, 76, usurp power, and it's NPC positive. I think it's the same event. I think it's the other half of this is that this wild magic surge basically negates the invisibility. It causes all of the pixies to lose concentration because they do have to maintain concentration on it. So it essentially causes them all to lose concentration and all of them drop invisibility at once. And so now this, do you want to roll to see how many there are?
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay. So it'll be a
Picking
hundred.
myself some broccoli.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. It'll be 100 or less. 100 or fewer of them. But feel free, go ahead. Baby, come back.
There are 97 of them.
All right, I'm gonna need you to roll me 97 initiative so that no, I'm just kidding.
No, we're doing a group initiative.
This is
A
absolutely true.
horde initiative.
A horde initiative. Well, the fun thing I think about pixies is they don't. What do they have? Oh, they have fairy dust and spell casting. Uh, so their fairy dust is a melee or ranged attack. It is +4, 1 radiant damage, and the target has the charmed or poisoned condition until the start of the pixie's next turn. And then they can cast Dancing Lights, Druidcraft, Invisibility, Detect Thoughts, Fly, and Sleep. Um, which is great. So you said 97 of them. So collectively, they have 873 hit points
Oh my
because
god.
they have 9 hit points each, which is amazing. Okay, so the colony of 97 pixies have been revealed, and the other half, my wild magic or my random event is the thing we already rolled because it's also NPC positive. It is usurping power. It is usurping the power of death because the reincarnate
hmm
spell is bringing back Tim as the body
We have to,
lurches.
yeah, we have to roll for
Well,
what he
as
is.
I was gonna say, we're gonna roll two things as we talked about.
Oh crap.
But yeah, so the body lurches, and I'm sure all of our priests and champions and undoubtedly Jean are. Here's the thing: is Jean? I'm only gonna roll for Jean. Is Jean surprised by what's going on right now? 56. So he's not surprised, but I feel like he's not surprised mostly because he's seen so much shit that he's like, like he didn't expect this, but he's also not taken aback by it. He's like, I've
Yeah.
seen shit. I've fucking seen shit. Um, and the body settles afterwards because it only gets hit with this one, essentially, a misty uh mist strike, settles, and then starts shifting, and an energy. The mist of the storm doesn't necessarily engulf, but those fissures where in the storm the fissures are in the mist. Those fissures
hmm
are sort of crawling isn't the right word. They're sort of drifting over Tim's body in the way that when you look at water that's rippling in sunlight, you'll see those streaks, those curving streaks of light on the rippling surface. It's not actually
I was
something
gonna
that's there. It's an image.
I was almost gonna say, like, the idea of if you've ever seen an image of the Earth from space with the aurora going over the
Mm-hmm.
top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like that?
Yeah. Yep. And that is sort of drifting across the body, not in an intense way, but just sort of clinging to and drifting over the body. And let me pull this particular spell because this particular spell also has a D100 table.
Go check my broccoli. Get back.
No broccoli!
All the broccoli.
Oh, the broccoli. Tim comes back as a stalk of broccoli.
As a what?
As a stalk of broccoli.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you over Josh burping.
That's fair. D100
It came back
reincarnate.
as what?
A stalk of broccoli.
Oh. Like, what the fuck are you saying over here?
Mm. So there is um there's a more expanded reincarnate table. Do you want to use the more expanded one or do you want to use the official one? I feel like the more expanded one is more off book. Huh?
Expanded, please.
Expand. That's what I'm like. Expanded. Uh, all right. So go ahead and roll. Wait a second. There's only 50 of them on here. Okay. So roll the D100 and then we'll divide by two and round up.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Damn it, cock. Landed on a crack.
So Tim comes back as a rooster.
37.
In a row?
Yeah.
All right. So that is 19. So let's see here. Amazing. So this wood elf is laying there, bleeding, lacerated, still bleeding because he only got run through maybe 12 seconds ago, still bleeding out, lacerated, eviscerated. This mist kind of drifting over him, finding the wounds. Now, our characters notice that the mist is finding those wounds specifically and sort of absorbing itself into those wounds and pulling them together and knitting them. It's almost acting like medical glue. It's pulling the wounds together and healing them and knitting them. As it's doing that, it's becoming gauzy and it's spreading instead of being fissures now. Once it's got the wounds, it's becoming more gauzy and it's covering his body. And I think it almost becomes cocoon like because that makes sense with this spell and the way this spell works. So I think it becomes a very, very fine. It's such a fine mist. You feel like you ought to be able to see the body through it. It's really, really, really fine. It's almost just like the mist that covers the grass in the morning, except that
Mm-hmm.
they can't see his body inside of there. Now also roll the D100 again, and this is a table that I had created, and I'll explain it afterwards.
52.
52. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So it happens instantaneously, right? Or does it take an amount of time?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. Reincarnate. The reincarnate spell takes an hour. This is a wild magic version, so we're gonna say it happens right away.
Like a
Um,
minute. Takes
oh,
a
no, what
minute.
a minute would be. We've still got. I mean, if it's a minute, you know what? I kind of like the idea that it doesn't happen right away. So, do you want to roll for it, or you want me to roll for it?
You roll for it.
Okay. So, does
I'm gonna go save my
this?
broccoli.
Okay. Does this not casting because it's not a casting, but does this um does this instance of reincarnate occur within one action? So 6 seconds. So essentially, the effects of it become immediately apparent. Does it? Uh, does this instance of reincarnate only last one action? Do you want me to ask, does it last longer then, or does it only last?
Ask longer then.
Okay. Does this instance of reincarnate take longer than one action to complete? 70. So it doesn't take longer than one action. Does it take one action? 50. Yep. So it's only going to take one action. Now, is it going to complete by here's the question then. It's so one action is 6 seconds. Technically then the amount of time from one character's turn in one round to their next turn in the next round is 6 seconds. So hypothetically that means it could complete on Tim's turn next round. So is that the case? And I want to say I like the idea that that's likely. 55. So that is the case, and it's a random event. The focus of which is going to be 62. I'm gonna have to actually keep track of how many all the D100 rolls I make and how many of them are doubles because I feel like I roll a disproportionate number and percentage of doubles. I roll a lot of doubles. And I don't know if that's just because I roll so many questions and I roll a lot of doubles and it feels like it's more. I roll a lot of doubles. So 62 is move away from a thread, which is interesting. What actions are going to move us away from a thread?
Well, I
Uh,
mean, Jean Vic did say we gotta go.
this is true. So 49 is heal, and 8 is benefits. Oh, it's moving away from the. So interestingly, it's only a 6-second delay. The benefits of healing, the benefits of the spell of reincarnate, are that it brings you back to life, but they're not going to happen immediately. It's going to take a round. So we're moving away from the thread of of Tim healing right away.
Yeah.
I think I'm
And
getting
I just
better.
know
Hmm.
that my COVID recovery brain
Hmm.
is like, I need an entire bowl of broccoli. That's all I want today.
That that is scientifically founded. I'm pretty sure. Uh,
So,
okay, so yes, by the end of Tim's turn this time, Tim's body is encased in a very fine mist. One might almost mistake it for spider silk from far enough away, and the body inside is not visible. Which leads us to the dead lunar dragon. Would the dead lunar dragon like to do anything? The dead lunar dragon uses its final free action to shit itself, which is what dead bodies do after enough time. It is my second champion's turn. Um, I'll mark that there. So what are you doing, my good sir? Yes, what are you doing, my good sir? You can second wind. That's it. You know what? You're gonna second wind because that's smart. And are you also holding your action? No, you're currently. Are you wigged out by the fact that there is an entire colony of 97 pixies currently? So this is another thing then. There's almost no way. Does my champion assume that the pixies and the mist cocoon are connected? I feel like that's almost certain. Uh, See, no, this is true. I roll doubles more often than I should because that's a 22. So my knight it sees these pixies, like sees the invisibility drop on these pixies, and you know how I've described like invisibility dropping as instead of you just immediately become visible. I love the
Mhm.
visual of invisibility dropping, like the way that Star Lord's mask disappears, like it happens, like it not peels back, but basically like it happens gradually.
Mhm.
That happened with all of these pixies as they became visible one at a time. It was essentially this wave that just went of all of them becoming visible. Um, my champion is convinced that their appearance is connected with the cocooning of the body of Tim. On a 22, another random event, the focus is 9, which is an ambiguous event.
Hmm.
I'm going
Did
to
you say we
double.
have someone in chat?
I didn't. Hello, Chaos Fox. Don't tempt your players into talking with plants, else you will be cursed with naming and voicing every vegetable once they get speak with plants. I mean, a turn technically is 6 seconds, but the round happens the same. Yeah, that's true. Um, so let's see here. Yes, 9 is an ambiguous event, which
Hi, Teeny, if you're still here.
everything. Um, let's see. So the action of this ambiguous event is 41 and 34.
He's doing happy broccoli dance.
There you go. 41 is escape, and 34 is freedom.
I
So
mean,
an ambiguous event, it could be escaping. Well, it's escaping to freedom. So is it the Pixies? Yes, that's the ambiguous event. Is the Pixies? They all became visible. There was a there was. I mean, this is a 6 second round. There was a good 3 or 4 seconds where they were all like, as Tim's getting cocooned, and then all of them. I'm gonna roll for it. I'm gonna say it's very likely 75%. I mean, given the action, I'm going to say it's 85%. It's nearly certain. Do they all flee at the same moment? 26. Yep. So they all like fireflies just they all take off, scattering out because they were exposed. But like, is there an additional
do they all
reason?
scream?
Well, do they all scream 50-50?
I'm gonna roll for it.
Okay.
29.
I rolled a 36. So yeah.
You just hear 97 pixies going.
Exactly. Yeah. It is a scream of a pitch that not even a microphone from Amazon can pick up. And it sounds like, to the untrained ear, to someone who is unfamiliar with the Fae, it actually just sounds like a rusted wheel, like a rusted axle. I'm sure that didn't come through.
That almost came through.
Hey, yeah, they go. But they all take off. But now here's the question: since this is an ambiguous event, is there some reason other than them being visible that they've taken off? Like, other than just like, oh shit, they see me, I gotta get out of here.
Another dragon.
That's right. A fairy dragon. Is there a reason other than them being
I want a fairy
visible?
dragon. That sounds adorable.
That's a thing. They're in the Fae. They're in the
Are they?
Feywild. Yeah, fairy
Are they
dragons are
like
a
itty
thing.
bitty?
They're small. Yeah. They might even be tiny. I'll double check it for you. I'm gonna say it's
I
a
want
30.
one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's unlikely. It's a 35% chance though, so it's a third. There's a third chance. Is there some other reason these pixies are scattering right now? There is absolutely a reason beyond just being visible that they have scattered. I'm not going to roll for what it is. I'm just going to leave it there. We know there is something, and a
I will tell you
future.
it's not a dragon.
Oh, there you go. Well, I was going to say a future random event will end up revealing it. So
Oh
our
man, this is so weird. No,
so
sorry, I lost. So when I
mhm,
got, for those who might still be watching, I've had
mhm,
COVID for the last like 5 days. This is my third time having it. My
mhm,
first time losing my sense of taste and smell. I haven't getting my taste back. So I almost had, it's like 60% of the way back.
mhm,
But drinking the watermelon juice that I usually drink, I know what this is supposed to taste like. It tastes so weird right now because I can
mhm,
kind of taste some of it, but not all of it. And it's
mhm.
very strange.
um I'm, I'm going to roll for this. I'm going to say it's very unlikely because I really don't want it to be true. So pixies have a 30-foot move speed, fly speed, which
Mhm.
means they can get 60 feet in a turn. Champions with the short bow have an 80-foot range. So, does my champion, in the moment that all of these, I'm going to say it's unlikely, not very unlikely, because this is the one who believes that the pixies are related to the enmistening of Tim. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to say it's unlikely, 35% chance that this knight takes a shot at one of the pixies with the short bow. Do they take a shot?
No.
93. They don't. So they see them scatter.
Good.
They're sensible enough. They know not this one with an extreme no like that. This one knows not to fuck with the Fae. This one's like, even if they are responsible, if I kill one of them, it's going to be so much worse that I'm not going to deal with this.
Don't fuck with the fae.
I have a question I'm not going to say out loud because if it turns out to be yes, I don't want you to know until it comes up. No. Okay. Okay, I will tell you then. Um, I asked if the pixies scattered specifically because of Jean, and I rolled a 96, so it had nothing to do with Jean. Okay. So, so essentially then, my second knight is also holding his action. It is your solar dragon's turn. Now, I know they were a bit away. Okay, so it was photonic breath there. They had dashed in the one, two, three, in the fourth round, and then
How old is the
dashed.
solar dragon?
It is a young solar dragon.
What designates as young?
Like how many years?
Mhm.
Let's see. Dragon ages 5e. Young is young is quite a range. Young is 6 to 100 years.
Um, have the dragon landed yet?
That's why I was checking to see. So it had dashed in rounds 4 and 5, which means to get back, it would need to dash in rounds 6 and 7, I think, to get all the way
So
back.
it's still flying.
Right. But Celine is able to see through her because she had cast mislead, so she's able to see and interact through her duplicate's senses. Basically, it's like a sensor. It's a sensor scry or a scrying sensor ish
Mhm.
in that position. So her knights see a version of her there that they know very clearly. Like this is like you said before. This is all part of their protocols. They know very clearly that this is the duplicate, but they also know this is like the holographic duplicate because when it's talking to them, she's talking through it.
The dragon is making its way back to them.
Okay, so we have dashing again, dashing again. Right, yeah, yeah. Because if it was 2 rounds of dash to go, then it's going to be 2 rounds of dash to get back. And basically, yeah, I think you had said she's basically taking a big loop. Um,
And
mhm.
for
Does
good
it have?
measure,
Mhm.
it's roaring at the pixies as it's like getting close to landing.
I don't have to roll for that. The pixies are fucking terrified.
Um,
Let me pull up that young
I
solar
feel like when
dragon.
it's doing that, everybody on the ground needs to make a con save.
Well, actually, roll a d6 right quick.
So D6 find out what percentage of the fairies die of heart attacks from this.
The d6. No, the d6 is to determine. Go ahead.
One.
One. No, the d6 was to determine if it got its photonic breath weapon back, and it did not. Actually, though, did
Mm.
you roll? So it used it twice. It used it in the second round and the third round. You dashed in the fourth round and the fifth round. This is the sixth round. So roll the d6 2 more times for the fourth and fifth rounds.
3
Mhm.
and 5.
5. So the round prior to this, the dragon did get its photonic, so it does have its photonic breath weapon because it recharged on a 5 or 6.
It's not going to use the breath weapon, but it's
Yeah.
going to rah.
Rawr, rawr, bitches.
No,
Wait,
this is its real roar.
yes, but let me see something here. Is some percentage is some percentage of the pixies impressed rather than afraid? I'll say 50-50. 18. So what percentage of the pixies are impressed rather than afraid? 33. So a third of so 2/3 of the pixies are terrified. Um, a third of the pixies though are like those they're the teenagers. They're the ones that are like why are you
Wicked.
yeah, they're like uh, but they're Simba at the beginning of the movie when he's trying to roar. because they've got their high pitched screams,
Hmm.
but as it's roaring by, they're roaring back at it in their little high pitched pixie
Did not
squeak.
even hear that.
I know.
That was hilarious.
They're like, what? Oh, they don't even have a weapon. I was gonna say they're like, yeah, and they're like, they're shaking their swords at it, but they don't even have swords. It might be, oh, it's sprites. I'm thinking of sprites have like a needle sword that
Mm-mm.
in the hands of a humanoid is the size of a sewing needle, but for them it's a fucking short sword or a long sword. And
Yeah.
pixies don't even have that. Um, amazing. So, uh, roar weapon. It is your champion who slaughtered Tim, who is probably paying a bit of attention to the fact that Tim is now encased in this.
He's probably like, what the fuck? And is going to
Mm,
draw his sword.
mm-hmm. You know, let's see. Is this it? This is a them, but that's fine. This is a. Yeah. So they see this mist now covering, encasing Tim fully, and probably roll perception for them real quick. It's just a d20.
Oh, I don't have their stat box up. I forgot to
That's
do
okay.
that.
I do. It's plus 6.
13.
13 plus 6 is 19. Yeah. So they noticed, like, they were probably focused on Tim, having been the one to take him down. And so when the mist started drifting across him and knitting into the wounds and then becoming god, like they were concerned. They're like, what what in the multidimensional fuck is happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so they've pulled their sword again, or they probably still have their sword out. Are they doing anything additional?
They're like getting in a prep stance.
Okay, so this is we're holding action here
And
too.
are yelling, what the fuck is happening?
Hmm. Does Jean know what's happening? Roll roll for the priests, honestly, should know what's happening. But it's happening in a way they're almost certainly unfamiliar with. So I'd say roll the
Ah,
percentile at 50-50, just because reincarnate's a spell they'd be aware of.
60.
60 for yours,
Mm-hmm.
and mine is a 45. So mine is aware. And again, because it's a 45, it's so close to 50 because they're at first like, this is not, this is very, I've never seen this happen. And then they're looking and they're like, this is, they can, I like the idea of
Maybe sense the magic.
I was going to say the frequency of certain spells, and I think that's probably how schools of spells work. Like transmutation magic has a certain frequency, and necrotic magic has a certain frequency, and so this priest doesn't know necessarily from the effects of what they're seeing, but they feel this frequency of the magical energy. And what is the school? Reincarnate should be necromancy. Unless I am much mistaken. Let's see, spells reincarnate. Chaos Fox had a. I love that. It said, can I have your attention?" Is a great opening, a great annoying opening with the Fae. Depending on the players, it might not make a difference. Because if a Fae says, "May I have your attention?" and someone says, "Yes," you've given away your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So interesting. Reincarnate is one of the spells that was
Hold
reclassed.
on.
Yes.
What would you say then in that moment? No, but.
No, but is probably the easiest answer. Um, I think if you don't answer, I think not answering is effective also. Because if you
Hmm.
don't answer but you just start paying attention, you haven't said yes, you may have my attention. You're just paying attention. I think that's how it works. It also depends
No,
on
but I will
one's
look at you.
right. Yeah. May I have your attention? No, but I will listen to every word you have to say.
Mhm,
I feel like the best way to gain the respect depends on the Fae too, and this also depends on the lore that one is using because the idea of Fae uh, making doing things like that or like taking names, like when you say, can I have your name, and you say yes, and you tell them your name, and they own your name now. That's not actually part of the canon of D&D. It's pulled from like real world mythology. Um,
mhm,
and so it depends on the DM and how they're running the Fae. But I feel like it also depends on the Fae themselves because, like the Fae that I ran in the Common Misconceptions game, Lavender, he was very much like his interaction with Lucian. He was very much like these poor mortals don't know what they're getting into with us, and we don't care. Like if we say, "May I have your name?" and you say yes, it doesn't matter if you understood what you were answering. You've given us your name, so they need to be
mhm,
educated. Um, but I like the idea that there are some Fae where if they went, "May I have your attention?" or no, the interaction that I use is they'd be like, "May I have your name?" And Leander would be like, "No, you may not, but some call me Leander," or "No, you may not, but you may call me Leander." That there are some Fae who would be like, "I'd respect you," and then there are some probably unseelie Fae who would be like, "I will kill you."
mhm.
What? Well, I was going to say that's neither here nor there nor thither. Where, but we just discovered there was an entire colony of pixies around this cavern, so it probably is related.
Mhm.
I also have it. Wait. I'm gonna. That was a half drop because I dropped my die. It rolled down my keyboard and I caught it. Um,
Good job.
I am gonna ask this question. Okay, this will be perfectly fine. Anyway, um,
I'll grab the rest of my food. Be right back. Eyes listening.
Okay. Well, I was looking up the reincarnate spell to see what school of magic it is. It is one of the spells that got reschooled from the 2014 rules to the 2024 rules because it used to be transmutation magic. It is now necromancy magic, which necromancy makes more sense because you're returning a soul to a dead body. Transmutation implies that you're just changing the form of the matter, but you're not. The matter is the same, it just lacks the energy. You're bringing the energy back, which is necromancy. So this the my war priest, we actually gave them both names. Mine is
They're a married couple, right?
that's right. Thank you for reminding me that yours is Dallin, right? No, you're blue. Yours is Farley. Mine is Dallin.
Yep.
Dallin recognizes. I love this idea. Dallin recognizes what's happening because Farley's old school. She doesn't like the idea of this alteration of spells because when she came up learning magic, she learned the transmutational formula for reincarnate and probably revivify and the other spells. Um, and then 15 years down the line, suddenly they come out with this common core magic curriculum where they've come up with a new, better, more efficient formula for reincarnate that uses necromancy magic. And she's like, yeah. Look, I learned transmutation reincarnate. I'm going to keep using transmutation reincarnate. So she doesn't recognize the energy because she recognizes necromantic energy and she doesn't associate necromantic energy with reincarnate. She associates transmutation energy with it. Dallin, on the other hand, is either a little bit younger or just has a little bit more of like I'm totally cool. You have a better way of doing this particular spell that requires less magical energy from me. Excellent. I'm going to learn the necromancy way. And so he feels that same necromantic energy, but he recognizes it. Oh, this is the new, more efficient casting of reincarnate. That's what's happening here. That's why weirdly, it's taking longer because you're putting in less energy into the casting, and so the energy has to work a little bit more and a little bit longer in order to work. And it appears a little bit different. It does this whole chrysalis looking kind of thing. And so he's like, and so they're totally having this moment. And she's like, because the your knight was like, what the hell's happening here? And your priest undoubtedly was like, I don't know. And Dallin's like, hon, it's reincarnate. It's the
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it isn't. I sense necromancy. And he's like, yeah, no, it's the new one. Yeah, remember? Like, yeah. I know you only like the transmutation formula but this is actually a much more efficient. And they're totally getting into this discussion about the efficiency of different magical energies in the midst of this storm. Oh,
Amazing.
so everyone now knows that reincarnate is what's happening. Given that, so your knight is holding their action at the by the
Pretty
time
much
that
waiting for somebody to tell him to fuck off.
well, so your knight's holding their action. They've now been told that reincarnate is happening, so they now know that Tim is being brought back. They're going to continue to hold their action, or are they going to
He's like,
do
"Are we
shit?
gonna do anything about this? I just killed this guy."
Was it your priest? One of the two priests was like adamantly against it, weren't they originally? I think when your knight says that, your knight's like, I just killed this guy. Dallin, that's the point where him and his wife, him and Farley are having their academic discussion. And Dallin, without missing a beat, hears that and turns and goes, well, clearly the storm had other ideas. Anyway,
Yeah. And
he's
he's
like,
gonna
yeah.
look at the others, being like, "What the fuck?" Wasn't I mean, I feel like Jean Vic would say something at this point.
What's Jean Vic's God, I don't even know what the role for this. He wants to get the fuck out of there. He said we got to go. There is some reason that he thinks him. Now, here's the
Yeah,
question:
but
Is
he
it
knows the wizard.
he knows Tim? Yeah, he knows. Well, does he know Tim specifically? I mean, given what he said,
Mhm.
we'd have to say he does. We know he knew
No,
one of
he
the
said that
knights.
last week. Or
Hmm.
last time.
Hmm.
He knows he knows him. So learning that one of these guys killed him, I'm curious what his reaction is.
Mm. Is he angered by this? See, I don't know the nature of their relationship. So I guess it's 50-50 whether he's like legitimately angered by this. Is Jean angered by the fact that this knight is openly admitting to killing Tim? 67. No, he's not angered by it. Is he amused? 56. He's more amused than he is angry. he's not exactly amused, but there is part of him that's like, hey, that actually tracks. It's Tim. I'm not gonna lie. Since he's not back yet, I'll admit I have occasionally entertained the thought of killing him myself. Never to act on. I would never act on it, but he has his moments. He acts without thinking. That's the problem. These wizards, and
He
it's so
summons a
crazy.
dragon.
He summoned a dragon. No, it's a coatl. Do you not know the difference between a dragon and a coatl?
The knight would point at the dragon and be like, "That's not a coatl."
No, that's not a coatl. He summoned that. Did John believe
Then
him?
yeah. He would try to explain what happened, the series of events.
I think it's incredibly unlikely he would believe that. Okay, that's a 5. He believes, Jean believes that he summoned that. That's fucking wild. I accept.
Hmm.
Now, here's a question. Does Jean think there's a good reason for him to have summoned a lunar dragon? A 10. Okay. Okay. So apparently this conversation's going on. This knight is like telling him the whole fucking rundown. He's giving him the Troubles tangent recap of the first 2 sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, Jean's like, well, I've never seen him summon a lunar dragon before, but I know Tim well enough. If he did that, he had an extremely good reason for doing it.
He's gonna be like, "Yeah, he probably wanted to kill the prince."
The, does he believe that? That's got to be a 20. That's a 20% chance. 91. He literally just laughs. Kill the
Mhm.
prince. Kill the. Now,
I
I
imagine
want.
he's standing there,
Mm,
hand on the hilt of his sword, listening, looks at everybody else, looks back at the guy, just stone faced.
mhm.
And just starts fucking laughing, like belly
Yeah.
laughing.
Now here's a question too. Does well, no, that would have come up, huh?
Um,
Mm,
being mocked by this dude
mm,
that just fucking walked out of the woods,
mm,
not taking it seriously that this motherfucker summoned a dragon trying to kill his prince. This
mm.
guy's gonna draw his sword on Jean Vic.
Nice, amazing. I was trying to think if there was an additional reason when he said that Tim was trying to summon this dragon to kill the prince. Why it would have been such an exceptional no that he didn't believe it? Is it just that he knows Tim well enough to be like, that's obviously not the case? Or no, honestly, it's got something to do with that note. Is he so certain because of whatever the contents of this note are? 46. Yep. So whatever the contents of the note are. Now, here's the question, and I think this is very unlikely, especially I'm going to say it's 80%. No, the other direction. I'm going to say it's 20%. Um, the chances that he's going to actually explain this to this knight, given I would have said it was just unlikely, 35%, given the fact that this knight just pulled his like pointed his sword at him, it's even less likely that he's actually going to explain the whole note thing. That's a 9. Interesting.
Let me break this down for you, you motherfucker.
So he what exactly does the knight do? Does he just turn and point? Do they just turn and point the sword at him?
That like young rookie who's had his pride hurt
Mm-hmm.
and is like very much, you know who he is? He is D'Artagnan before
Mm,
he becomes a fucking
before he
musketeer.
see, I thought you were gonna. I don't
When
know if
he's
I
all
heard this.
cocky and full of himself and like, how dare
Okay,
you?
so you just went a little further back for the exact same example. I was going to say John Walker before he got the super soldier serum.
No. Mhm.
um,
Is that D'Artagnan has a good heart to him. John Walker does not. This
yeah.
guy's coming from a place. He's like, I'm trying. What the fuck is wrong with all you guys? I'm trying to protect the prince.
Mm-hmm.
This guy obviously summoned this dragon to
Mm-hmm.
try to kill the prince. Why are you not taking me seriously? Like, he's a good dude. He's just like a little cocky and full of himself and taking
Mm-hmm.
things a little too seriously and doesn't know all the details. And just pulled his sword on like one of the fucking best assassins in the nation. So,
I, I was gonna say then roll to see if they know who Jean is, and I think given these actions, it's probably very unlikely, and especially given this is probably the rookie.
it's an 18.
Oh my god, this is ooh. So okay, so there is an element of John Walker here. He knows who this is, and this is like a dick measuring contest.
Uh-huh.
He's like, I don't care. He's almost got that like, look, old man, think the game has changed since you hung up your boots, since you oh, I see you dusted off your crossbow. I'm surprised the thing still works. Kind of bullshit.
Mhm.
He's
Mhm.
like, yeah, yeah. Back when you used to protect the king, things have changed. It's different now. And John's like, yeah, yeah. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I can see you're new here. So let me break this down for you before any more blood gets shed. No, he points the sword at him and he's like, that's a bold move. I don't feel like the numbers are very fair here, though. Would you like to call some more knights in?
He's just standing there with his sword out, like looking at his compatriots. Like, you gonna back me up, bro?
You gonna back me up? You gonna back me up? Are any of them gonna back him up? I'm just gonna roll one roll 50-50. Are any of the other knights going to back him up on this? Not on a 76. The one who recognized it, because the one recognized Elendor had like the bro hug with him.
Okay. I just asked, does the prince step in at this point? Because she can
She's
control the other version of herself.
the duplicate, yeah.
She can move, she can walk, she can talk. So at this point, she's going to be like, enough! Enough!
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I was gonna say the one who recognized the one who Elendor, the one who got a name because they recognized Jean well enough to get a fucking name. Um, when he's like, "Yo, you gonna back me up?" Elendor's like, "No, you've obviously got this. We'll just make sure that when he kills you, he doesn't throw you over into the cavern, so we can take your body back to town and get you revivified or raised. I mean, it's gonna take longer than 6 minutes or longer than a minute." So, and then, hey, then you'll get 4 days of paid leave because, after Raise Dead is cast, it takes 4 days for you to like really fully. So you'll get 4 days to hang out at the tavern, find some amorous companionship among the wenches and whatnot. And like, he's just fully, and that's when the prince is like, enough. Sorry, I get carried.
He's like, I've heard enough.
She's
and just like puts a hand on the soldier's shoulder.
So
like, and just
what
like leans down and whispers in his ear, like, trust me, this is not a fight you want to have.
what is this rookie, this D'Artagnan knight creature type wise?
Did we
No.
make a choice?
Nope.
I feel like with how fucking cocky he is, he's gotta be an elf. Or a human. No,
Or
he's a human.
a human.
He's a human.
So roll a d6.
Almost rolled it off the table. 2.
Now, are you sure it's not an orc?
No, this motherfucker's too cocky. It's a human.
Okay. So what'd you roll? A 2?
2.
2. Okay, so that's 133. Go ahead and roll a d100.
I'm on the crack again. Stop that. 28.
So the prince leans in and is like, settle down, Aldridge. This is not a fight you want to fight today. Because Aldridge, I assume Aldridge listens. I feel like that's not something that needs to be rolled for. He might be a hothead with anybody else, but he knows.
He's loyal to his prince, and if his prince says so, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a step back, he puts his hands up, sheathes his sword, and just like, we all have to have a conversation.
Stink eyes John a little. Now I rolled a 9 as to whether Jean was going to actually explain what's going on. So I'm going to roll on the cryptic message table again. If we don't get a real sense of what's going on, I think it's ultimately we just sort of narrate that, yes, he explains what's going on. I'm actually going to roll twice. I'll roll on the cryptic message, you roll, and yours is for a plot twist.
You said a D100?
Yes.
Still rolling. 30.
30, and then do again.
44.
Huh. Okay. So the cryptic message is environment and free. The plot twist is free information. I wonder, is this related? Is the information here? I think this is actually likely. This feels right. I'm going to say it's 65%. 27. John explains that I don't see, where was he going? I know where he was going, but he had this message on him. So this had to have been two different things. Was he doing the one thing? Was he going to No. So what he was doing was twofold. John doesn't know the one part, but he does know the other part. The message that's written in Thieves' Cant, and it's written in Thieves' Cant because it needs to be in code, is that someone in the town of Dunnson discovered that one of the other towns had hired an assassin to kill the Minotaur in the prison below the
Mm.
city. And so Tim was relaying this message to someone in the next nearest town. And that's why Jean said, "We got to go." Because all they know is someone had hired an assassin. They don't know how far this plot is in its progression. We know how far this plot is in its progression, but they don't. So
Mm-hmm.
Tim was heading to the next town over to inform someone there to get reinforcements or to proceed with an investigation to figure out who and well they have a very good sense of why. I think they have to have a good sense of why, but I think this is about figuring out who, and that's what John explains. So would the prince 100% knows what's going on with that. I don't know if the prince knows. Roll to see if the prince knew about that, and I think that's very unlikely.
24.
Well, very unlikely is a 25.
Oh, wow.
So the prince, but now again I have my notion of the degrees of yes. Had the prince heard rumors? 31. So it was more a sense of the prince had heard that this was that this was a possibility. Um, to find out that someone has explicitly like hired an assassin to do it is a little bit more specific new news. But the possibility of it, I mean, the possibility of it was always there, which is why they had to build such a specific kind of prison. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to roll for the knights. I feel like I'm going to say it's 40% that they know because it's more of a need to know. I feel like I'll say it's unlikely. I'll say it's 35%. Do any of the knights or priests know? 81, 87. None of the entourage knows this information. So as Jean is explaining, uh, do they know? Do they even know the Minotaur was there? 67. No, none of the knights apparently knew that the town of Dunnson was essentially a large prison, or that it was built on top of a large prison. So this is their first time finding this information out. Uh,
Mm.
Now, I don't think Tim would be going to meet with the prince specifically because the prince was coming to Dunnson, and Tim would have known that. So Tim had to have been going to the next town over to meet with someone else specific. but it was somebody who was directly connected with the information network of the royalty. So probably it was a case of there's that Tim. No, wait a second. No, okay. I asked if Tim was a spy for the royalty, and I rolled an 83, so he's not. But does Tim know a spy for the royalty? 99, he doesn't. Okay. So he was headed to the next town over to meet with someone specific, not someone he knew was a spy for the monarchy. So this is probably not even a case of him trying to get the information up to the higher level as much as it's like there's networks within the towns, and he's trying to get to an investigative guild in the next town over. Um, okay. Well, that was eventful. All right. So that makes it Farley's turn, which is your
Yeah,
character. Yes,
my yeah.
your priest, your war priest.
She's probably going to is going to kneel down next to Tim and kind of observe what's happening.
Um.
Because she knows that when someone is resurrected or is reincarnated, it can be a little disorienting. And so she
Mhm.
would like a kind face to be there
Not one.
encouragingly
Not one holding the
when
sword that stabbed him through the chest.
yeah.
Okay, so roll a d100, thinking about what magical effects she's saying, because there is a d100 table of spell effects. You want me to roll that? Okay.
Sorry, I had one of those coughs that was like my throat is scratchy, so it makes me want to
Mm,
keep coughing.
yes, gotcha.
96.
Okay, and then roll again.
Sorry, that cough made me like tear up.
You're good. Nah, you're good.
13.
13. Huh. Okay. um, and Dallin and like when Farley's doing this, Dallin is immediately he's like, "Oh, the argument over the academic interpretations of magical formulae is finished. Okay, let's go provide emotional support." And so he's doing the same, and they're both noticing. Um, I don't know that it's the so 97 is wall, and 13 is cloud. So the I think the mist is thickening into not a wall around them, because that's my first instinct is to think that it's creating a wall around the body. But I think that the mist is thickening as it's doing the magic of. It's interesting that it rebuilds the body as it rehouses the soul and the mind, but that's effectively what it's doing. But it's not like it's gauze that's becoming thicker. It's like it's still mist. It's still like you could put your finger through it if you wanted to. It's just becoming thicker. Um, and I think it is also still actually, yeah, I think at that point it's starting to look like the wild magic storm itself. So it's the cloud and the mist, and now it's getting those fissures in it, that sort of misty lightning fissures, as if it's the surface of the
Mm-hmm.
storm itself. All right. So this is I guess they're technically holding their actions, but like they're holding their emotional support.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we are hold action for you, and hold action for you. So let's see. Between them, so as they're doing that, Jean is acting. What is Jean doing? I think Jean is going to percept, and then I think he's going to, well, it's going to depend on what his perception reveals, because they also did just realize that there was an entire colony of pixies that were there and are no longer there and took the fuck
Mm-hmm.
off the second they were revealed. Um, so Jean's gonna percept, and I'm gonna roll with the. I had rolled earlier for something, and I'm gonna roll the perception check with that thing in mind. Because if the roll's high enough, then essentially there's some reason he might have noticed that thing in particular. So he also has a +6. He only rolls a 17. So 17. I think we did this way before. 17 out of the highest possible roll, which is a 26, is a 65%. So it is likely that he notices what there is to be noticed. 41. So he does. Um, I'm actually going to roll on sounds because I think that's probably what gets his attention. So what sounds does he hear? 30, 40 is.
Sorry, I'm trying to send something.
Oh, you're good. And 100. Amazing. So he hears wind. He hears this distant, frightening kind of wind. It almost sounds like the breathing of a massive creature extremely far away, which means that it has to be terrifyingly big for it to be audible from that distance. And let me just double check the terrain from which he hears it. MNOPQRST. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay. 76 is rocky. So I got toxic and rocky. He hears this wind from the cavern, not across the cavern, not in the storm that is over the cavern. It sounds like it's coming up out of the cavern from the bottom. And so he is going
Mm-hmm.
to take it because the storm's getting closer to their side, but he is going to take some steps toward the edge of this chasm. I'm going to roll. I'm going to say it's very unlikely, 25% chance that getting closer to the storm is going to activate an effect. I'll say it's 20% chance. Well, fuck me sideways and 7 ways from Sunday. That's an 11. So the magical effect is going to be the result of a random event. So he gets to the edge of the cliff. And let's see what the random event is first, because that's what he's triggering. 15. There we go. Okay. 15 is a new NPC.
Oh.
So as Jean steps up to the edge of the cavern to look over because he's hearing this distant, frightening wind that sounds like it's this almost is like the chasm itself is breathing up. And so he's going to take a look over, but as he steps to the edge because he's this close to the storm, some of that lashing misty lightning catches doesn't necessarily hit him. I'm kind of imagining it like when you see videos of the surface of the sun, and there's those solar flares. It's that, but it's mist instead. It's these sort of mist flares off the
Okay,
side,
yeah.
and this one mist flare sort of crackles and curves and curls out. And do you want to roll character? Do you want to roll D100 on the character table?
Yes.
Okay.
26.
Okay, and then roll again.
21.
Huh. Interesting. Um, I, well, let me check this. I feel like this is almost certain because it is almost too perfect. Yeah, 31. That is definitely the case. Um, I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna ask the dice if I should. I love asking the dice mechanical questions. Should I roll on the wild magic? Should I roll on the wild magic storm table for this? Uh, 35%. 49. I should not. Should I roll on the wild magic sorcerer table? 84. I should also not. Okay, that's fine because this is um roll on. So I know we know the nature, the character element that you rolled was emotional and dangerous, which is
Hmm.
fantastic. So go ahead and roll thinking about what this character looks like. So this is the character appearance table.
46
Okay.
and 9.
Huh. Okay. 46 is interesting and 9 is bizarre. Is this a humanoid? Is this like a
Hmm.
playable humanoid creature type? 50-50. With it being bizarre, I'm going to say it's 40% chance. Is this a humanoid? 95. This is some other sort of creature. So, uh, roll the D100 twice for creature descriptions. This is not a humanoid.
29
Mhm.
and 23.
Well, 29 is feral and 23 is dripping. It's not that. It's not a water elemental.
Hmm.
Is this? Wait. Let's see here. That's not how you spell Google. Um, what are the water? Um, Not dryads. Dryads are the ones, the tree spirits. What are the fey water spirits? Is it sylphs or nymphs?
Nymph, I think. Think.
Feral and see, dripping makes me think it's an elemental. Is this an elemental of some kind? 24. Okay. So this allows us to start narrowing it down. Tis an elemental. And it's dripping, so it is a water related elemental. So let's start from the top. And we said it was bizarre and interesting, right?
Bizarre. Uh, yeah, I think so. Bizarre and interesting.
Mm. Ooh, that would be not good if that's well, would it be not good? Could be good, could be bad. Is it that? I'm gonna say it's unlikely. I'm gonna say it's very unlikely that it's that. Well, fuck. Okay, what can it what even is its oh my God, what even is its appearance? So I asked if it was this thing here, and I rolled a 4. So it is absolutely this. Oh yeah, yeah, okay. Amazing. Fuck it. Let's fucking roll. That's what this whole system is designed to do. This is gonna completely fuck up my battle chart. Uh it's
Amazing.
it's fucking his turn. Uh that definitely doesn't get a pronoun. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's not fine. We're all fucked and whatever. Um so let's see here. I'm gonna put in some hit points for this, just in case. This is fucking wild, and I love it. So we're gonna say they're essentially doing this in tandem here because it doesn't make sense otherwise, given what's about to happen. Um, Fantastic. So as Jean steps up to the edge of the chasm and starts looking over, one of these mist flares like crackles out. But it doesn't just, the way that solar flares will crackle out and then sort of merge back into gravity will pull the fire back in.
Yeah.
This crackles out. And, oh my God. I'm not actually going to ask that yet because I love that question, but we have to get to it first. Crackles out and just stays out and starts moving independently, almost like a limb, like a tendril. And then another one crackles out. And then this face starts to emerge, this almost draconic face. It's not a dragon, but it is almost draconic and it is water. And does Jean recognize it? Does he recognize what it is? I guess roll for all of yours and just roll for everybody else. Roll for everybody other than the prince. The prince, I'm going to say there's a 50-50 chance. I think for everybody else, it's probably unlikely. So it's probably 35%. And I think for Jean, I'm going to say it's probably 50-50 because I feel like they have more experience. Does Jean recognize what this is? Nope. 81. He has no idea.
So the cleric, right? Is that
Mm.
what it is?
The war priest.
Does not.
Priest.
War
Pardon.
priest.
Mm.
My champion does with
Mm.
a 33.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
And what was the title of my other person?
I think you had two champions, and there were five, and
My
I
other
think
champion definitely knows it with a 9.
oh shit. Okay. So I think your two I think the two champions who recognize it they have the sailor background.
Mm.
How about Saelihn?
Oh, Jesus.
Two?
2.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
see now here's the thing. This is making me think. Hmm. Okay, not knowing what it is. Ask if she. Oh, I don't know how you would ask this because you don't know what it is. The dice know what it is. Ask if she has a personal connection to this thing.
25.
It was very unlikely. It was a 25% chance.
Nope. I was rolling for the two champions. They do not.
I know why it was a 25 because I just rolled a 4 on a slightly different variation of the question. John has no idea what he's looking at. I rolled an 81 for him. But Saelihn immediately recognizes the Leviathan that is the patron of her family.
Well, I want to know what that fucking event is that the champion had at a 33.
The 33, yep. So go ahead and roll that. So this is the focus first.
12.
12. Fuck, 12 is a new NPC. So roll for the character. This might be the same NPC. This I've noticed this will sometimes happen.
Well, that's a 1.
1.
A 1.
Okay.
And a 20.
Amazing. Oh, this is almost certain. I love this too much for this to not be almost certain. I will roll. It's almost certain it is a 90% chance that this is the case. 82. So this is the case. This Leviathan forms. This is a gargantuan creature. Let me see. I think gargantuan is 20 feet. 20 by 20. Oh yeah, there was another question that I wanted to ask too. 98. It is not. Okay. So the question that I did ask was, is the Leviathan the magic storm itself? And it is not. But here's another question. Fucking 11. God damn it. So yes, the second thing is true. What is the focus? 41. See, this is what happens when we get into the end game, is it's all fucking random events.
Right?
But see, I've noticed this. The more, I don't want to say chaotic, but the more energetic a situation, because I've done this with like battles. Like this is effectively a battle. When you do it with battles, there tend to be more random events, as if the dice know this is a chaotic situation, and so more random, unexpected things are going to happen. This is a case where we're getting into the end game. We have no clue what the setup even was. So the dice are like, here's all the information you need because you didn't come in with it. So I rolled a 41, which is NPC negative, which is sad. Um, that's a that's a that's a 69. Nice. I don't see how a 69 would be NPC negative. Uh, and 100. So I rolled NPC negative, and what I rolled was proceed and wound. So who counts as NPCs in this scenario? Did we decide that essentially the party, the knights, the priests,
The
and
party, yeah.
they are the PCs, and then
Mhm.
any unexpected people like Tim and
The
Jean,
the dragon.
the dragon. Um, well, this seems very very unfortunate because Tim seems to be the most obvious possibility for this. Does this NPC negative action apply to Tim? I have to say it's likely. 50-50 doesn't feel right, but it's not Tim. That was an 80. So, oh no. Well, the only other NPC we have on the board right now is Jean, right? Yeah. Well, okay. There are technically three NPCs at the moment. Other than the dragon's dead. Should we include the dragon in this NPC role? 50-50.
No, I mean her dragon, the young one.
Oh, so okay. So should we include the solar dragon in this NPC
Hmm.
role? You just say yes.
Uh, as an NPC, yes, because it was added later.
Okay. Yep, 42. Well, the dice said we should include the fucking lunar dragon too. Oh, wait. Okay. I'm gonna make a list. I think there's five then, right? Because there's Tim, there's Jean, there's the solar dragon, there's technically Pika, who still exists because we have Tim,
But Pika's
Pika.
in another plane of
She
existence, right?
she is, yeah.
Okay.
Jean and Tim, Jean, Solar Dragon, Pika. Weren't there five? I've only got four. Oh, the Lunar Dragon. Okay, so we have five options. So roll a d10.
6.
Okay, so this makes sense. I don't think it's on purpose. No, it's on purpose. Is this deliberate? Huh. Okay. Let's see here. Then we got proceed and wound. Let's take a look see at what action this might be. No. Yes. Okay. Yep. This is what happens. Um, so it is the solar dragon, and it's because as this essentially as this leviathan forms, it doesn't step out of the storm. It forms from the storm. The storm seems to not be there anymore because the leviathan is it now. Now, I did roll the storm was not the leviathan itself,
Hmm.
but the leviathan is there now in the place where the storm was, and it happens in the moment that the solar dragon is flying back into range. And so it's a slam attack, but it's not the leviathan attacking the dragon. It's this happening instantaneously, and the dragon essentially crashing into the leviathan. What is your poor young solar dragon's AC? It is 16. Well, do you want to roll the attack or shall I?
You roll it.
Okay. I'll let you know in advance. It has to roll a nat 1 to miss. It has a plus
Oh
14.
boy.
It has a plus 14 to hit, which means if it rolls a 2, it hits. But it can miss. On this accidental slam attack, I will actually roll it at disadvantage because it's not deliberate. So, on this accidental slam attack, rolling at disadvantage, is there going to be impact? Wow, I just rolled double tens. So that is a 24 to hit
Oh boy.
because, and that makes sense that it's at a disadvantage. It was the exact same roll. Um, but it's fine. It's fine. Honestly, to be fair, it actually is fine because it didn't say kill; it said wound. So as it emerges, the young solar dragon on the slam attack. Oh, it has a 20-foot reach, so it probably doesn't even necessarily slam into so much as that's what happens. This is the sequence at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron where Iron Man is flying out of the meteor and he's underneath of it as
Oh
it's
yeah.
falling apart and he's trying to dodge.
Mhm.
This thing forms and it's got these 20-foot long like wave tendrils that are just thrashing around in the moment that the solar dragon enters this space, and the solar dragon is like, evasive maneuvers, and just is dodging and weaving and just doesn't quite make it all the way through without taking uh 2d12 plus 8 plus 2d4. Okay, 4d12. Would you like to roll that or would you like me to roll
I'd like to roll.
it? Okay.
I have to find my d12.
Mhm.
Mm, mm, ah,
Where is your youngster? There we go. Let's see what we should. Let's see. You're immune to
oh,
radiant.
4. There we go.
Radiant is the only thing you're immune to or have resistances.
12,
Ooh. Okay.
7,
Okay.
5, and 3.
And 3 plus 8. So your um so Celine's Solar Dragon takes 35 points of, well, it's so half of it is bludgeoning,
Oh,
half of it is acid. So the dragon takes 19 points of bludgeoning, 8 points of acid, effectively 16 points of acid. So a grand total of 35 bludgeoning and acid damage. As it's doing its 100% absolute best to make sure that Celine doesn't get hurt. Like there's that moment of I'm gonna make it through, I'm gonna make it through, start hitting, start bouncing around, and it goes from I'm gonna make it through to I'm gonna tank all of this damage to make sure that I can land her safely. And it's and comes out the other side and just like fucking acid the acid wisps rolling off of it as it comes out the other side. Ooh. Okay. But to be fair, the dragon's
exciting.
doing huh?
Exciting.
Yeah. To be fair, the dragon's doing fine. The dragon currently now, after taking all that damage, has as many hit points as the knights started with. Because the knights started with 143, and the dragon had
Hmm.
178, and now has 143. Okay, everything's fine. So Jean has no fucking clue what that is, but it's now there. He sees it form. He sees a fucking solar dragon like burst out one side of it as it's coming into land. Um, Celine knows what it is, knows it's related to her family. Um, I think we're just gonna like. I don't think we're gonna fuck around with the dashing part of the next. Like, if Celine wants to react at this point, she can do that.
She probably is going back into her regular body. She's using her
Oh, she's
action to
pulling
go back
back up.
into her body that's on the dragon. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Uh, so wait. Oh, Jean was percepting. That's what it was. That's what kicked all of this off. Um, okay. So that priest did that. So it is Celine's turn. Okay, so she's popping back to her body on the back of the dragon. Uh, does
Yes.
that doesn't take an action, does it? Or does it?
It's an action, yeah.
Is it? That seems stupid.
It is.
Let's see here. We'll let this a magic action. You can move you can see through its eyes. You gain the invisible condition. The double lasts for the duration, but the invisibility ends. As a magic action, you can move the illusory. You can see through its eyes and hear through its ears as if you were located where it is. This doesn't say it's an action to uh, transfer your consciousness. The magic action is to move the illusion. So
Oh.
if she's just basically recentering her mind in her physical body now, that's a free action.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an action for some reason.
Yeah. So she's returning to herself. And what would she like to do?
Um, she's just holding on while coming on in.
she's bringing it in. She's like, "Bring it in easy. That was rough. That was a rough flight. We had some turbulence."
Yeah.
So I think we're just gonna say that effectively the dragon your dragon got a double dash, and you're landing now. Um, so basically, if you want to treat it as that
Does
you've
she know
landed,
that this thing is friendly?
uh, she knows. So I said patron. Is it a patron in the way that a warlock patron is a patron to her family? I mean, I want to say that's 50-50. It's 62, so it's not. Well, then let's see here. Is it a patron in the way that like a cleric or a paladin would have a patron? So that's a 22. Can we keep track of how many
Okay.
fucking doubles I'm rolling at this point? Um, focus
I mean,
is
we're
nine.
recording, so yes.
Yeah, the focus is 93, so that's current context. The action is 40, 50, and 52. Energize and hinder legal. That sounds so fucking boring. Well, I mean, not really. Hinder legal in this case makes me just think it's delaying her because she's a
Mm-hmm.
legal representative. Like, yes, she's a prince, it's monarchy, but like that's a legal position. So,
She's probably. I know what she's doing.
mm.
She lands and she's like, "Everybody, get on your fucking knees and bow."
do all of you? I assume all of your people do it.
I mean, if the prince orders it,
If the
we'll
prince
fucking do
orders it,
it.
here's the thing. Okay, Jean doesn't know what it is. I was gonna say for fun, there was an 85% chance that John wasn't gonna do it. I was gonna say essentially there was well, no, that'd be nearly certain. I was gonna say it's unlikely, very unlikely that he does. Because he doesn't know what it is, I'm gonna say it's unlikely. So there's a 35% chance that he does in fact kneel. Does he kneel when ordered by the prince? 21. Jean is I won't say he's arrogant, but he's an arrogant man, but he fucking knows when to bend the knee. And there's a 20-foot
If the
tall
prince is bending the knee,
yeah, that's why I said if he recognized the Leviathan, I would have said it was very unlikely. It's because two things. One, the prince is saying it, and two, he doesn't know what this is. If he knew what it was, even the prince saying it wouldn't guarantee that he would do it.
mm,
Because this is a man who worked for the king. I want to say this is probably a man who has worked for at least two kings. And so he's like, yeah, you all bow. I'm going to stay up here. But given that he doesn't know what this is, and he knows the types of powers that exist out in the world, he's like,
yeah.
best not to offend this one yet. So he bends the knee. Is that so is the king effectively a paladin? 48. I know let's see here. Paladin 580. Let's see here. Agents consequences redemption. Which is it? Which is it going to be? Is it 48? Wait, no. No, 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 no. Yep. The king, be they male or female, that is up to you to decide. The ruler of this area, this region, is a cleric of the Tempest domain.
Male. I rolled an
Hmm.
18.
The male king, Saelinh's father, is a high level, powerful cleric of the Tempest domain, which is why a Leviathan is his patron. And Saelihn fully knows that. Woo!
Bending the knee.
So they've all been tented the knee to the Leviathan of the deep.
Does the
Well,
dragon bend
shit.
a knee?
I mean, that I almost, you can roll for that if you want. I would say that is almost certain because the dragon follows her instructions pretty much no matter what. Like, the dragon doesn't need, like, oh, this is someone
But it
important.
is
Like,
also a dragon.
yeah. So I'd see a 75% chance that it does.
44.
Hmm. So it does. And what is the focus of your random event?
99.
99 is current context. So what is your action?
53.
Mm-hmm.
And 94.
53 is increase and 94 is vehicle.
Wait, does anybody does anybody have enlarge reduce?
Do any it would really only be the war priests,
Can the
right?
dragon enlarge reduce?
You know what? Let me double check something real quick. Because there was something I held on to from essentially from the first episode of Astragalomania that was supposed to be in the last session, but never actually happened. Um, Let me see if that is a possibility. Uh, like death, tonic breath. No, that's a young. That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for that one. Okay. Uh, Fill automatically. Uh, hmm. I don't know that this would. Let me see. Let me see if this is what happens. I don't know that this would really make much sense here. It would make sense in terms of the action. I'm gonna take the 40% chance. 47. It's not that. Um, but let me see if the Leviathan. You know what? I'm gonna say, can I'm gonna say it's a 35% chance because it's not in the stat block. This is absurd. Okay, I rolled a 33, so yes, but let me add on to whatever's going on here. The focus of mine is 57, which is move away from a thread, which again, this does make sense. The action is going to be 21 and 30, 40. Okay. All right. So ooh, this actually does make sense. Uh, this makes sense. So it's a 65% chance. How does a D10 land cock?
Right?
Is this a message from her father? 88. Well, that's a double. Is that double a random event? I really hope it's not. No, it's 80. It's not. Okay. Um, is this a message about Dunnson then? 15. Okay. So, okay, we got to work our way backwards. The 33 I rolled, it was unlikely, but it was the case. The Leviathan is able to cast enlarge reduce. So increase vehicle is as the solar dragon bends the knee, the the Leviathan, the head of the Leviathan, the slightly draconic head of the Leviathan, of all the people, surveys this scene in front of it and then looks at the dragon. And there's a swirl that almost looks like a somatic component. And as this swirl is happening, Saelihn notices, is she still on the back? Or had she climbed off?
No, she had climbed off and told everybody, bend the knee.
Oh, okay, and she did it too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then she's, I assume, right next to it. It starts growing, and it grows from how large is a young dragon? You go on to get out of here. A young solar dragon is a large creature. An adult solar dragon, so it grows about 5 feet in length and height. So it goes from 10 foot, 11 foot to about 17 foot tall. It is the size of an adult dragon now. And what languages does a Leviathan have? A Leviathan does not have any languages.
Really?
No. No. Oh my God, I completely forgot. Wow. It doesn't have any languages, which is why. So, a little while ago, one of the random events you rolled was another new NPC. So, we got the Leviathan, and then you rolled new NPC. And what you rolled were accompanied and curious were the nature of the character. And then I rolled because as this Leviathan forms, uh, I like the idea that nobody actually sees where this individual comes from. But alongside, right on the bridge, right on the front of the bridge, because I think at this point it's almost to their side of the chasm. Right at the front of the bridge, there's a young water genasi. It's the Silver Surfer to the Leviathan. The Leviathan has no, and this water genasi sort of steps. I like the idea that it almost just steps out of, not necessarily stepping out like from behind a waterfall, but literally like forms out of and steps forward and addresses this group because uh he can't. I'm so sorry. I know he no it he she they. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They don't really understand the magnitude of the presence and the effect that it can have on us. Us, you, us. They want to deliver a message because the I think the random event the random event you rolled was communicate and home. is this for? Well, is this for Saelihn? This has to be for Saelihn specifically. 19, yeah. But then why is it home?
Oh boy. I asked a
Yes,
question.
yeah,
I got a 33 for it. I
amazing. See, amazing.
asked the question, is their father dead?
Oh, oh. So I originally asked, is this a message from their father? And I got a no, because it's not a message from their father. It's a message about her father. So is it a message?
From
Oy,
their from his patron.
yeah. Oh, fuck balls. I so love the idea of patrons not really having the sense of like mortal emotion. Well, no, I mean, this actually does make perfect sense because you rolled emotional for the patron. And that's why, like, the patron is legitimately upset. And that's what now this unbelievably works with one of the with the question that I asked. I guess, is this to be revealed now? It makes sense for it to be. 43. So this Genasi or Genasi presenting individual steps out. Um, are they naked? This is irrelevant, but are they naked? No. So they're not.
It's not a full Silver Surfer moment.
They step out and they are wearing what initially just looks like, like a frilly pirate shirt, like a robe and pants. But weirdly, it's all white. And the more they look at it, the more they realize it's all sea foam. It's just froth
Cool.
that
I
makes
like
up
that.
that makes up the garments. So it's still water. It's still them. It's just it creates the illusion of clothing. Um,
That's cool.
yeah, it's still they is the Genasi they 24. Yeah. So they step out and they kind of give that little they don't understand the mind of Titans. That wait, it's an elemental. Um, is it a? It's it doesn't have Titan in that. Anyway, here let me do the title drop. The mind of a Titan. They don't really understand. They don't really understand because they don't really have a material context within which to experience the emotions. That's why when someone of their nature becomes inconsolably upset, it can create ripples and disturbances within the weave of magic itself, and it can create areas in which magic acts erratically. Lore drop above the table, the wild magic storm, and I rolled for this. The wild magic storm was the Leviathan's emotion.
Ooh.
So when I rolled initially, I rolled to see was the wild magic storm the Leviathan itself? No. The wild magic storm was the Leviathan's anguish and sorrow and grief in that moment. Go on.
The letter. Was the
That
letters about the king?
um no. No, that was
Okay.
connected to the Minotaur because it was Tim going from
Oh,
Dunnson
right, right,
somewhere
right,
else. So
right.
yeah, so Tim wouldn't have
My
known
brain
about
was
that.
just thinking of the yeah, that's right.
That's okay. Yeah, yeah. No. So uh yeah, he's explaining this, and they're explaining this as a essentially a precursor, as
Precursor,
this
yeah.
as setting the stage. When someone of their nature becomes so inconsolably distraught, that emotion sometimes takes on a life and existence of its own, and acts erratically and can wreak havoc across the material plane. And to them, it's a little tantrum. To you, It's a storm that tears apart the countryside. And would Saelihn then ask? Because I like the idea that they describe this and then stop because they're like they don't converse with you. They don't they don't kind of understand like, oh, I started a thought. Let me continue.
Um, how maybe something that is like what could be so monumental that it could make a leviathan
Mm,
upset.
mm. The only time I've seen has no. I was gonna say, would this what has this genasi because this genasi is not a genasi for like for reals. It's appearing as a genasi because it's the herald. But has this entity experienced other Titan in this state? I guess it's 50-50 because like I guess the question is how often Titans would interact with each other. Let's say
Yeah.
45%. Up 45%. Yeah, 39. So one time. The only other time I ever saw a being like this become this upset was a very similar situation. A being like this very rarely becomes attached to creatures of your brevity. But every now and then, there will be one who is in some way so special that losing them is, I think you would call it heartbreaking. I don't know that they have anything that you would recognize as a heart specifically, but their most treasured, I don't want to say cleric because that feels mechanical. Their most
Champion?
yes, their most treasured champion has tragically shuffled off this mortal coil. And Saelihn can roll insight. And the DC is practically 5. The DC is not high.
11
11 was the total? Okay, so
was
then
the I don't know what their plus is.
oh, for insight, that's true. Yeah. Let's see here. 11 on the die plus an insight of 4. Right? Skills. Oh no, an insight of 7, so that's an 18.
18.
So 18, yeah. She knows. She knows who the champion of the Leviathan would be.
And I rolled a 33 for that too. By the
Well then,
way, I rolled a 33 when I asked, is her father dead?
oh, that's right. You did. That's right. Yeah, go ahead and roll that fucking focus.
39.
39 is NPC action.
Okay.
So this is rolling for the action, and then we'll sort of figure out which NPC this fits best with.
It's probably the king. I mean, I asked, is the king dead? So
Yeah,
this would be what happened to the king, probably.
possibly.
30
Yeah.
and
Well,
10.
uh, huh. Oh, that's really interesting. Ask if this applies to Celine, and I guess it's 50-50 if it does. Like so here's the thing, right? If there's 5 NPCs, technically speaking, it's a 20% chance for any of them. Well, no,
24.
it's an NPC action, right? So this is something that an NPC did. or does. I mean,
Mhm.
strictly, it's something that an NPC does.
And it was with the idea of her father dying,
Yeah. Um,
the king.
right. Roll the d10 again.
Did you go? Whatever. There it is. 6.
That's the solar dragon again. So the action that you rolled was deny burden, which feels really like if a king dies, that the burden of rulership falls on someone. And this sounds like
Well, if it's on
someone.
the solar
Mhm,
dragon, the first thing that popped in my head would be that the dragon's being comforted, that it I imagine that the king could probably summon it too. If
mm,
Saelihn can summon it, the king probably could. And maybe the king couldn't summon it because it had already been summoned by Saelihn.
mm,
And so denying the burden of guilt,
mm-hmm,
being like you were here protecting the prince,
mm-hmm,
you have nothing to feel guilty about. There was no way you could have saved the king.
mm-hmm.
Kind of.
Yeah. So it's the same dragon that they. Well, see, the king would have a different stat block, but no, I like that idea that yeah, the king was trying to summon the same dragon, but maybe it's not. There might have been an event that's sort of connected with that. Didn't we have a remote event? Or was it an ambiguous event?
I don't
I feel like we had an event that we essentially put a pin in, and of course forgot now. But
I think it was a remote event.
so it's probably then yeah as the
Because
story.
yeah,
Mm,
no, that makes sense because someone fucking um Pika. Pika
mm,
came to kill the prince. It was
mhm,
probably a coordinated attack at the same time or
mm,
just
mhm.
before they got there. The king was killed while Pika was out hunting down the fucking prince.
Real quick question. I'm gonna so based on what I thought the odds were, I'm gonna re-roll and I'm gonna say it's 50-50. See, I think it's actually likely. I'll say if the odds are 50-50. See, I don't like that. You roll it. Ask the dice where there are coordinated attacks on the other princes at the same time. And how many princes
5.
are there? How many princes are there?
Isn't it 5?
5. There's a coup going on.
By whoever sent the fucking motherfucker to kill the goddamn Minotaur.
Might be related, probably related, possibly related. Holy fuck. But yes, the deny guilt, and I think the deny guilt is as the Saelihn knows what's going on. Would she ask what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so uh roll. You probably don't need to roll the focus because I know what the focus is. Roll an action thinking about what happened.
35.
35 and another one.
And 95.
And 95. Oh, huh. Hmm. Um, so you rolled disrupt victory. So there was some sort of celebration going on. Maybe it was a military victory. I kind of liked it because the chaos of this makes sense that there was some sort of military action that the king was involved in. It was important enough that the king was involved in it. Um, and the king and the king's forces were victorious. And in sort of the chaos of the aftermath, the celebration of victory, this assassin took their moment and succeeded. And like, and it might not even have been like a military victory. Could have been like a fucking like a party. Could have been like a wedding reception, some sort of victorious moment where everyone was happy and everything seemed great. And so everyone's guard was down just enough that
The Red
this
Wedding. Just kidding.
that's essentially that literally you pulled that out of my brain. Yeah, essentially there was a moment where everyone's guard was down because things seemed good. And this assassin took that moment. Was the assassin killed? That's almost certain. Was the assassin killed? 46, yeah. So the assassin was killed. Um, was the assassin questioned? Because they do, if they kill him, they have speak with dead. So was the assassin questioned? Again, almost certain. 18. So the assassin was questioned. Did the assassin give up any useful information? Honestly, once you're dead, I feel like it's 50-50 at that point. Would you say it's a little higher? I'll say 55. I'll say 55%.
I would say, I mean, it depends on how loyal that person was in life. Like,
Oh, I was imagining it was well, that's a good point. Was this a
because they don't have to
traitor?
tell the truth.
Yeah. Was this a traitor within the king's court? That's probably a 10. Was this a traitor within the king's court? 65. What do you think the odds are that this was a traitor from within the king's court? Like, it seems like that would be the best person to get to do it. So it seems like it should be more than 50-50. Well, we don't know. So we'll say 50-50.
I would
Was
say
this a traitor?
50-50.
Was this a traitor? 78. It was not a traitor. So this was an assassin from the outside. Um, so there's really no reason for them to give up any information. So we'll say there was a 25% chance they gave up useful information. 80, they gave nothing up. So essentially what I was digging for was did they get enough information to sort of they probably assume, well, maybe not. Um, with an attack on the king, there's probably a protocol: protect the kids, protect the princes. Because if there's an attack on the king that's successful, one of them is going to become king. Um, and so there's undoubtedly a protocol, but they didn't get anything useful where they'd be like, is there more? Are there more of you? Are you attacking other people? Those would be the questions, and they got no confirmation on any of them, so they didn't get any usable information. Um, And honestly, this was probably the Leviathan coming here was probably the first thing of like, let's protect the kids. Um, this is a terrible thought, but do you think she was the last one the Leviathan visited because she's last in line? Well, we don't actually know that this is we don't know that this is primogeniture. We don't know that it's the oldest immediate. It probably is. If a king dies, does the oldest um
And one would assume the
heir
Leviathan could present itself to all of them at the same time.
all at the same time? Yeah. Can the Leviathan present itself to all of them at the same time? 65%. 33. God damn it. I'm going to assume the 33 is a remote event and it's the Leviathan presenting itself to the others. But let's see. The focus is 76, which is PC negative. Oh dear. What is the action? Well, I mean, we kind of know what the action is. 46 is free. Ooh. And 31 is failure. Free failure. Freed from failure? PC negative. It would be one of the party members. Is it Saelihn?
What is the focus of this?
Free and failure. So freed from failure, freed by failure, but it is also PC negative. Is Saelihn the PC of this event? 66. So no. Is that a random
Oh,
event?
Jean?
That is a random event. Is
Jean?
this Jean? Oh, that's a 5.
Because Jean was there protecting Saelihn. He wasn't there to protect the king.
Well, okay, here's the question then. Is Jean currently in the employ of the King's Secret Service? Because I had this notion that he was like retired and freelance, but is he still actively in the King's Guard?
I thought he was actively in the King's Guard.
Given that, I'm going to say it's at least likely. I'm going to say it's 70%. So between likely and very likely. Is he still actively in the King's Guard? 79. He's freed from failure. He just left the King's Guard maybe weeks
Mm,
ago. If he had just stayed a little bit longer, if he had stayed another month, he would have been there. He could have prevented this.
maybe. Who
That's what
knows?
he's thinking. No, that's the,
Oh,
the negativity. The PC negative part is he is now
I
blaming himself. So the dragon is blaming itself. And the Genasi is the whole deny burden is the Genasi essentially talking the dragon down and being like the dragon is thinking, oh, if he had only summoned me, if I had been with him. And the Genasi's like, he didn't try to summon you. He didn't want you there. He knew you had more important things to do elsewhere. There were more important things in his world that needed protecting than him. And he knew that. Jean is not articulating what he's thinking. That's why it's fucking PC negative. He is just blaming himself because he probably, and this is probably why it is free and failure. He was probably in the Kingsguard far longer than he realistically should have been in terms of like when you just generally age out and should retire. But he never lost his edge, and that's why he stayed in, and that's why they never pushed him out. And finally, there was that moment where the king just had a fucking beer with him one night and was like, "John, you're how old is he? He's got to be an elf because I love the idea that he's so fucking old. Is he an elf? 45. He's an elf. Is he like 270 fucking years old? Is this man almost 300 years old? 48. Yep. So the king is like, Jean, you turn 300 in a month. 300.
go have a life.
Go. Go. You don't even have girlfriends that you could possibly marry once you're retired. Go find somebody else who will put up with your shit.
Yeah. You
I've put
still
up with
have
you.
400 years of life
Yeah.
left. Go live. Go
I,
live.
I have put up with your shit for 212 years. Go find someone else who will
Yeah.
do it. And it was that joking, but like, go live. You've risked your life enough to earn the rest of it for yourself. Go enjoy it. And 2 weeks later, the biggest coup in his lifetime, in his career as a member of the King's Guard, goes down. 2 weeks, 3 weeks after he finally gives in, because this is a conversation he's probably had with the king for years. Every year, a month before Jean's birthday, Jean, you are going to turn 294 in a month. A year later, Jean, you are going to turn 295 in a month. Finally, 300 for some reason was the number that got him. He's like,
300. That's it. I will not accept no as an answer.
is it 300?
I will not.
300. Yep.
Also, I rolled to see how many of the 5 died.
Well, did you roll first to see if any of them died? Because it might have been that they could have all survived. Oh, so you rolled to see if any died, and you got a yes.
Yeah, I was like a 27 or something like that.
Was it 4?
2.
If it had been 4, Saelihn would be on the throne
Yeah.
because she is the youngest. So there are two above her, 2 before her. It's fine. It was. Wait a second. There was only one son, wasn't there? Not that it does not matter in this
Oh my god,
empire,
sorry.
whatever this is, this nation.
It was not the
Oldest.
first in line.
Mm. Did the son die? Because it was 4. I think we rolled for it. There were 4 daughters and a son.
In line. So the 3rd and 4th in line.
Mm. Was one of those
Yeah.
two? Was one of those two the son? The son?
11, yes.
Go ahead and roll that focus.
47.
47 is NPC positive. Okay. Go ahead and roll that action because I think I know what this is. If this is what I think it is.
54. And 48.
54 and 48. Okay. And then roll the D10.
Oh. 7.
Well, that's weird. So I'm gonna say fuck that and roll a D6.
Huh. Okay, I asked a question. I will pin that.
Okay.
5.
That's the solar dragon. It was indulge intellect, and it was NPC positive, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna make the executive decision because what I think what actually makes the most sense here. No, that's an 81. Yeah, I asked if it was Tim coming back because that makes the most sense. NPC positive is the reincarnation spell
Yeah.
finishing up.
Tim's coming back to a whole fucking.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry. Hold on. Tim is coming back, laying on the ground as a brand new race. Did we roll for gender? I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't. My brain is not brain fog. Was it
It's,
a woman or a man?
I didn't tell you.
Oh, you
I'm
didn't tell
holding
me.
on to
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. But as brand new everything with a fucking woman above him, like 6 people standing around him, a fucking lunar dragon, a dead solar dragon, and a
Other way
fucking
around.
leviathan in the sky.
The lunar dragon's
Other way
dead.
around.
And an adult solar dragon, a leviathan, a water genasi presenting herald of the elements.
And Tim wakes up to all of that.
Yeah, correct.
Finding out that the king is dead.
Correct. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so according to the dice, originally indulge intellect referred to Pika somehow, and it was NPC positive. No, it is her. This is a bizarre fucking cutaway scene. I think I know
Okay.
exactly what this is. It's a 32. Um, roll real quick on. So you're going to roll four times. The first you're thinking about location, and then the second two you're thinking about terrain.
Okay. Um, I will say before I roll, the question that I asked was, were the king and the two princes killed by spells or means that cannot be revivified?
Hmm.
And I rolled a 50.
What did you have the odds at? 50-50.
Yeah, I had it at 50-50.
Okay. So then, yeah, they can't be brought back.
24
So this is location. Okay.
and 91.
Okay. And then terrain.
14 and 54. Some of them like really wobble for a
Hmm.
while before they decide.
Well, that's fascinating. So, wait a second. Wait a second. I think I know exactly. I may know exactly where they are. Um, okay, which one is it? Which one are you? I think it's the fourth, but I have to double check. Oh, yeah. Or is it the sixth? It's the fourth or the sixth. No, yeah, no. Let's see here. Oh, wait. This might be it. Yep, absolutely perfect. So, we cut away in this moment, strangely, to a. I start my description as I don't fully have it in mind. Um, wow, yeah, yep. We cut away to an enclosed garden somewhere near the center of Ossetia, tucked behind high walls of bleached skulls. It was a beautiful, expansive place filled with plants from across the plains. The perfumes of riotous flowers and whispers of succubi soothed visitors, putting them at ease and chasing away their fear. No fauna lurked waiting to pounce, and no flora was a poisonous trap. This was a place of true beauty in a realm of ugly lies, of respite and refuge in the middle of hell itself. It existed to put the victims of Malbolge at ease, just long enough to make it truly agonizing when its comforts were cruelly taken away. We find Pika in the Garden of Delights. In Malbolge, the sixth layer of the nine hells of Beator. And as she's sitting in this garden, she glances up at the eastern gate and sees someone she distinctly recognizes walking in. And they regard each other and they hug. And Pika, I think the first thing she asks is how went it? And this individual that she recognizes just smiles and says, "The king is dead." I don't
Oh
feel,
boy.
I don't want to, that feels like the most perfect place to end it, but we're not
It
ending it.
does.
Yeah.
No. 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 No.
No, what?
You gotta
No, don't.
finish this.
I was gonna say we can't end it now. Literally, this is still the same. This is still the sixth round. Now, I'm gonna ask the chart. I'm gonna ask the fate chart. Is the seventh round? Is this effectively? Have we now moved into the seventh round? 16. Yes. Okay. So this whole interaction constitutes the seventh round because the storm was the emotional turmoil of the Leviathan. So, as we move into the finale, roll the D100. This is for the final effect of the wild magic storm.
94.
94. Let us see what 94 bringeth. Okay. Well, I do believe that constitutes everyone here. I want to weight this. So I'm gonna, okay, let's see here. So we have, oh, yeah, yeah, okay. We have champion one, champion five. Yes. No, that's, you're gone. So we have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. Okay. So we have 10 options. So before you do this, I'm going to weight these. Um, we have 10 options. So I'm going to say, okay, so if I double everybody's, no. So we're going to say, that would be hilarious. You know what? Just because it would be hilarious, I'm going to say yes. That would be great. Um, you know what? No, fuck it. We're gonna go 1 through 10. Um, so roll a d10.
4.
That's absurd. That's absurd, and I know what I'm going to do with it. That's an 18. This is stupid, and I fucking love it. So 94 is a random creature with an intelligence of 10 or higher has the ability to cast Eldritch Blast permanently. And you rolled a 4. So what happens is uh, the solar dragon, it is now the size of an adult dragon. And as everyone is watching, it weirdly starts to shrink again, slowly, back down to its original size 11 feet, 10 feet, 9 feet, 8 feet, 7. And right around 6 foot tall, it stops shrinking because by that point, its features have changed. It's no longer a dragon. It is a young elven man that, if Saelihn had been alive 200 years earlier, would recognize as a young version of her own father. The solar dragon has now been given change shape ability, and it is a warlock of the Leviathan. That's why it can cast Eldritch Blast. And it can shape change. So it's not permanently stuck in that form, but that is the form it takes as this happens. Because as this is happening, as everyone is seeing that happen, nobody's hearing the conversation that's happening between the Leviathan by way of the Herald and and the Solar Dragon in their minds. But this is the Leviathan communicating that.
This is straight up a fucking uh Lord of the Rings scene when the elves when they meet
Mm,
the elves and they're talking, but like then she's like in the minds of each of them
mm,
individually as she's speaking
mm-hmm.
to the others.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
But it's none of the conversation deals with. I mean, some of it may deal with the king, but none of it really deals with like, oh, you're gonna, whatever, you have to replace him or whatever. It's just a conversation about like it's an offer. I can give you this ability, shape changing. You change what you look like. You can change into a humanoid. You can move among them. You can protect her in ways that you can't protect her now, because you can be by her side at all times, uh, inconspicuously, and I'll give you abilities that will help you to protect her. And as this conversation is happening, this dragon is in the process of accepting that it's accepting this offer, is shrinking slowly because it doesn't know that it's accepted the offer yet. In the moment that it accepts the offer, it takes on the visage of the young king, the first
Huh.
of the princes that it ever responded to when summoned. And it's completely by accident. It's the moment that the doctor took on the face of Peter Capaldi because it was someone that the doctor saved. It's a memory. And so it takes that face by accident because the memory manifests itself. Roll for Saelihn to see if she recognizes the young face. I feel like with elves there's a it's at least 50-50.
How are you cocked? What the fuck?
How is a golf ball cocked?
Right? 65.
65, so she doesn't recognize the face of her young father because she's always known him. Honestly, the reason he doesn't have a beard. You've seen the videos of kids who see their fathers after they shave, and it's the first time they're like, who is this man in my house? That's that moment for her. She just sees this young elven man who probably looks a little
Yep.
familiar, maybe looks a little bit like her brother, um, but doesn't recognize that this is a young version of her father. Ooh, okay. Well, that's the dissipation of the storm. The amount of energy that existed in this storm has now been expended making that change happen. Because to give the like this is an actual ability that like metallic dragons have only. Um, so this is fully giving this dragon an ability it shouldn't have. So that is the full amount of the last of this wild magic storm. Uh, which means
Huh.
that now's the time that our two priests who were already kneeling when the Leviathan showed up, and then Saelihn's like, "Everyone kneel," and they're like, "We already are. Like, should we switch knees?" Dalin's like, "Should we switch knees?" And Farley's like, shut up! What the every time? Why? It's a fucking Leviathan," and he's like, "It doesn't understand what I'm saying. They can't speak any languages. It doesn't know." And then the water genasi pops out, and he's like,
Hi.
"Hi." Yeah.
I can telepathically communicate with the giant being in the sky.
It's very handsome, very handsome. A little emotional, but very handsome. If it wants to be handsome, it's pretty otherwise. If unless it's handsome, it wants to be both. It's pretty handsome. Anyway, um, they now notice this thickening cloud, this thickening layer of mist is dissipating, and in a way that like the morning the mist in the morning, the fog in the morning will just sort of dissipate. It's not like blowing away real hard or anything like that. It's just sort of drifting off. And as it's drifting off, the first thing they notice are the feathers. Why are there feathers?
Oh,
Why are there feathers on this woman laying where Tim used to be laying? And
poor Tim.
then they notice the wings that are wrapped around. It's like an extra cocoon. The feathers are essentially the wings wrapped around, encased, and like the face is here. And somehow, the face of an Aarakocra, they're like, yeah, that's Tim. Like, I don't know why I know, but that's Tim. It's them. Her. Them. Her. It's probably her. I've never seen a bird with boobs. What? Oh, yeah. I was just talking to a big water titan. Well, I was talking to its secretary, but like, whatever. It's fine.
Poor Tim.
And the mist
Wakes up as a
dissipates.
bird and a woman
Bird woman. Yeah. Yeah.
in front of like 7 people, a live dragon, a dead dragon, a water genasi, and a fucking leviathan.
Oh, no, there's not a live dragon. There's a young elven man.
Oh, right. Like, young elven man. Yeah, right.
Um, oh, yo,
Poor
yo.
baby. Oh, and
This,
also like some weird like fish things.
oh, the scavers. There's a couple of them there. Yeah. Yeah.
Scavers, yeah, the scavers too.
Um, so here's the
Oh, poor
question.
Tim.
In this traumatic moment, does Tim remember? And I won't say that the memories are gone completely if the answer is no, but does Tim remember in this moment, like any of the last 10 minutes? 50-50. 34. Yep. Tim wakes up and is like,
He wakes up at wait. Oh no. I was gonna say, does he wake up and scream? But I rolled a 92.
no, Tim's totally chill. Tim wakes up. Is Tim honestly? Does Tim know? Oh. I'm gonna roll on a table. This is a little weird. This is a little backstory-ish, but I'm gonna roll on this table first because I love this idea so much. I just rolled 73 and 74. Plans and plots. Huh. No. Okay. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is so unbelievably perfect. Yeah. Tim Tim wakes up, has that like the eyes to flutter. It's not like a full blown gasp, but sort of like that moment where you were sleep. You were deep in the REM. You were in the deepest depths of sleep, and wakes up and opens her eyes, is looking around, and then is like this because she sees her beak, and she's like closes one eye to get a bit, and
What
then
the
and
fuck?
and then
Puts
now
her
she's
hands up, but goes to put her hands up and just like, ah.
no goes to put her hands up, and the wings are still wrapped around, and is like, I'm stuck. And sees the wings, and then sees the two priests above her, and is like, real quick, I'm not dreaming, am I?
No.
Unbelievable. Ever since I was a kid and I was growing up, my best friend Avienne used to brag about how she could fly around the countryside. She could get wherever she wanted. She didn't have to take the roads. Always wanted, and I've always dreamed of being a bird. And it turns out that to make my dreams come true, all I had to do was die. And that's where we're going to end it.
Amazing. Jesus Christ.
Unreal. Holy shit. Oh,
Well, we didn't end it, so
Didn't end what?
This series.
Oh God, no. Oh no, I didn't expect to like end to end. No, that's the beauty of stories. A a session ends, an adventure ends. The story never ends. You just choose when to stop. The best see, there's only one story. It starts at the beginning and it ends at the end. Every book and every movie and every session of D&D is a piece of the story. So you got to decide where it begins and where it stops. There's only one.
Oh, well, is this the end of this story then?
I mean, clearly not. Now, whether or not we continue forward on the sessions, if that's one of the fun things that I like, one of the philosophical things I've always thought about a story is you need a frame, right? You need to know the parameters in which a particular story occurs. To me, this story occurs within the parameters of the Wild Magic Storm. It began when the storm began, it ends when the storm
Ah,
ends.
okay.
Yes. And so this is and literally it's 9 hours of the things that happened and were revealed and were discovered in the midst of this storm. And all the crazy things we had going into this, I knew there was a prince and an entourage that included some knights and some priests, and they were going to encounter a wild magic storm. That is all I knew.
Yep.
And the dice were like, fuck what you know.
That was amazing.
Woo! Unbelievable.
Yep. Poor Tim.
Poor Tim. Tim just achieved her greatest dream.
Yeah, but still, poor Tim. Had to die horrifically.
Yeah, but some good came of it.
Had to be fucking blown up and then eviscerated.
Yeah, that's and what's really great so if you watch Allegastromania, you'll find out a lot of the backstory for Tim. If you want, we can still save that because that does tie in with Aoife and Leander. So if you want to not
Mhm.
know that and discover that along the way, we can say this story has ended here, but Tim's story specifically, Jean's story, undoubtedly, don't end here.
Have you seen the Van Helsing movie with
Hugh Jackman?
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
You know the friar that was helping him? The kind of squirrely friar that was helping him through, like
Mm-hmm,
he was
mm-hmm.
he was his guy in the chair.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh I just have this like visual of Tim being that guy for Aoife and Leander.
You know? Yep.
The one that doesn't get into combat is like, I'm supposed to be in the libraries. I'm not supposed to be in the field. I'm
I was
not a
gonna say
field agent.
Tim is the librarian. Tim is Noah Wiley confirmed.
No, because Noah Wiley's character is supposed to be in the field. No, this is
Oh,
this is
okay.
the this is like trying to take Q from James
Mm,
Bond and putting him in the field. He's like, no, no,
mm,
no. I'm a
mm-mm.
lab rat.
That's
I'm
not what
not
I
a
do.
field agent.
That's not what I do.
Yeah,
No. I'm not a field mouse.
right.
Yeah.
Field mouse. Yeah, amazing, amazing.
Oh, unbelievable. Well, I won't say the continuation of the story. The next story will begin. We'll pick up with Tim and Jean because Jean said to Tim, "We got to go." So
Uh huh.
the two of them in particular are the next set of characters we're going to
Okay.
follow when we get to it. And that's not we've completed this story. That will be the beginning of a new story. So it's not like, oh, if we don't get to that, we've left this. This is a phenomenal trilogy. Unbelievable.
Mhm.
Unbelievable how perfectly the dice brought everything together.
Absolutely. Fun nerd fact for you, by the way. The guy who plays
Hmm.
the friar in that Van Helsing movie is
Hmm.
Faramir.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. It's, yep. Yep.
I'm forgetting that guy's actual name.
Yeah,
But
I'm not gonna remember it.
he's such a fucking nerd in the
Mhm.
goddamn Van Helsing movie, and then you see him as Faramir, and you're like, wait a minute,
Yep.
that's the same guy.
Van Helsing film. Let's see
What
here.
is his name?
Uh, David Wenham.
He's David Wenham. That's right. He's an Australian.
Yeah. And it's funny because he looks a little like David Thewlis, who played Lupin in the Harry Potter
Uh huh.
movies.
Fun fact: David Thewlis actually liked one of my tweets once.
You darn right.
Because I tweeted about how fantastic The Sandman was when it first came out, and then I saw I
Mm,
had David Thewlis liked my comment, and I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And I clicked
achievement
on it,
number.
and he was like, "It was official TikTok or his official Twitter," and I was like, "Oh my
Mm.
god!"
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Speaking of which,
Unreal.
Sandman season 2 comes out in July. I'm not excited. Not
At
at
all.
all. I don't know what
No,
you're talking
no.
about.
No clue what you're talking about.
I'm totally not gonna watch it 11 times in the first month that it's out. Oh,
No, not at all.
not like I
Amazing.
did with the first season.
You gonna binge watch the
But
first season like 3 or 4 times before the second season comes out?
oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow.
You're correct. Yeah.
But like legitimately, I watched it 11 times in the first month it was out.
Mm-hmm. As one does.
Um,
Correct. Well, this is absolutely fantastic. We've ended the session, and now we're gonna end the stream. And the story of the Wild Magic Storm is complete. The tale that it began will never end.
correct. I
So
noticed my voice did not work that first time.
yeah. So you folks will see us when you see us, and we will talk to you then.
Bye.